A new training begins, and it's right in the middle of the Universe 6 saga, where not only Goku and Vegeta went to planet Sadala, but along with them was Broly, and he becomes fascinated when he sees that there is a Saiyan with the same transformation potential as him, the Berserker mode. Remembering that in terms of potential, no one surpasses Broly, not even Kale, Gohan, or Frieza. But here we see that upon seeing how Kale adapted to this form, he soon begins his training. Want to know more about this saga, and what will happen with Kale and Broly? Then subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and activate the bell. Kale emerges as a promise to be the new Broly, and it is during the Tournament of Power in Dragon Ball Super that she demonstrates her conscious Berserker form for the first time. But we have many differences here. One of them is that when Broly controls his Berserker form, he clashes directly with Gohan, showing that in terms of raw power, he surpasses her by a lot. But the premise here is not about raw power itself, but the control and time of mastery of this form. After all, he only used it once and Kale more than once, taking into account only the time and not what was shown to us. But yes, she did have more time to adapt to this new form. With the new emotional control taught by Kale, Broly not only maintains his overwhelming strength, but now can use it with more precision. This makes him even more of a threat. Kale already controls her form well, but her growth is not as explosive as Broly's. She is strong, yes, but less volatile. Both have the power to change the course of universal battles. Kale is more technical and stable, but Broly is the unstoppable cannon, and now, with consciousness, he becomes not only more dangerous, but more decisive. Broly, the legendary Saiyan whose uncontrollable power shook the earth and even threatened the strongest warriors of Universe 7 the first time, began a new journey. Since the events of the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, much has transformed within him. The blind savagery that once defined his fight slowly gave way to something new: control. Not the absolute and cold control of someone trained since childhood, but a mastery born of pain, experience, and the will not to hurt those around him anymore. Broly learned, in his own way, to listen to his own body, to recognize the signs before chaos took over. With the help of Goku and Vegeta and the teachings passed on by Whis, he took his first steps to understand that true power doesn't come only from rage, but from the harmony between body, mind, and soul. Over the following months, Broly trained in isolation on Vampa, under the care of Chi-Lai and Limo. Goku visited him frequently, bringing not only food and techniques, but also stories. Well, this in theory, and yes, Goku may have, in one of these stories, talked about other Saiyans. One in particular caught Broly's attention. Goku may have mentioned Kale, from Universe 6. And Broly was surprised by this, seeing that she controlled this mode, and realizing that he could too. He just didn't have a foundation yet. But only upon seeing Gohan in his beast mode did he get an idea, and thus regained himself. But not with his full power. But it's only a matter of time for him to adapt and evolve. Now in the hands of Whis and Beerus, the monster is coming. Finally, upon hearing about another warrior with power similar to his, who faced the same difficulties and fears when unleashing her Berserker form, Broly showed genuine interest. It wasn't just curiosity, but identification. Kale wasn't his enemy. She was like a reflection in another universe. She was someone who had faced the same inner hell but, unlike him, had already begun to tame the storm. Remembering that we know nothing about Kale's past, and who knows, maybe they have a deeper connection than we imagine. Let's wait and see. Goku might have seen their unique opportunity, not just for Broly, but for everyone. The connection between Universes 6 and 7 was increasingly present, especially after the Tournament of Power. Caulifla, Kale, Kaba all had shown enormous potential. Goku, always hungry for evolution, saw more than rivalry, he saw learning. What other place could offer so much knowledge about the Saiyan race as Universe 6 itself, home to a lineage that had evolved differently from his universe? Surely Goku still dreams of going there, to see the evolution of the Saiyans. And this moment in the manga is by far the best time to add this saga. Think with me. Goku hands over the key to Earth to Gohan in this exact final chapter of the manga, making him the protector, thus giving not only freedom for Goku and Vegeta to train with Whis without worries, but also for them to go to other universes. And it's not just Goku who must want to go. Vegeta also has a promise to fulfill with his disciple, Kaba. The promise Vegeta made to Kaba was to visit planet Sadala, the home planet of the Saiyans of Universe 6, and to meet its king, someone Kaba holds in high regard. This promise happened during the tournament between Universe 6 and 7, when Vegeta, impressed by Kaba's potential and honor, defeats him but instead of humiliating him, takes on an almost paternal role. He forces him to transform into a Super Saiyan, and after the fight he says, open quotes, "When this is over, take me to your planet. I want to meet King Sadala." Close quotes. Pretty cool, right guys? It's a promise of respect and curiosity, but also a seed for a future narrative arc Vegeta, who carries the pride of his Saiyan lineage from Universe 7, was intrigued to learn that planet Sadala in Universe 6 still exists and that the Saiyans there are protectors, not conquerors. That visit hasn't happened yet, but a future saga centered on Universe 6, with planet Sadala as the stage, would involve Vegeta, Goku, Broly, Kaba, Kale, and Caulifla as I already mentioned above, thus uniting all branches of the Saiyan race into a new chapter. And how could this actually unfold in the manga? It could be due to the comic factor of Beerus, the boredom, and the curiosity to see how strong the Saiyans of Universe 6 are, whose god of destruction is his rival and brother, Champa. Thus, with permission from Whis and Beerus, more because of the god of destruction's boredom than goodwill, a new trip was authorized. This time, Goku wouldn't take just Vegeta. Broly would go too. And so, the three warriors from Universe 7 traveled to planet Sadala, birthplace of the Saiyans from Universe 6. Of course, he would call Gohan, but considering everything involved in this ending, maybe he wouldn't go, but who knows? Maybe we have Trunks and Goten too. But anyway, this thing with the boys is a topic for another video. Broly's arrival was not peaceful. Although his presence was officially recognized, his energy left many on alert. Even without being in his rage form, Broly carried a rare intensity, something primal, that made even the most experienced feel a chill involuntarily. Kale, on the other hand, did not back down. When he saw her, she just smiled, a shy smile, but full of empathy. She understood. She knew. Caulifla, as always, was the first to act. Direct and impulsive, she immediately proposed a battle between Broly and Kale, so both could test their limits. But Kaba, with his more reserved nature, suggested something different: joint training. The idea was simple: join forces not only to test abilities but to learn from one another. It was in this setting that Broly and Kale began training together. In the first days, progress was slow. The Berserker energy, even when controlled, is volatile. Just one misstep, a slightly bigger provocation, and everything spiraled out of control. But Kale was prepared. She had been through it. She had lost control, scared her friends, almost destroyed planets. With Caulifla's help and Kaba's encouragement, she had turned her chaos into focus. She was showing Broly that it was possible to exist within that power without being destroyed by it. The training sessions intensified, but not just physically. Kale taught Broly breathing techniques, meditation, and most importantly, awareness. She encouraged him to observe not only the external effects of his transformation, but the internal ones. Which muscles trembled first? What was the rhythm of his pulse before the change? What thoughts surfaced in the seconds before the explosion? Broly, once guided only by instinct and rage, began to understand that his body was a map, and his mind, the compass. As weeks passed, the evolution was visible. Broly could enter his Berserker form without completely losing reason. It was still difficult, still risky, but it was already clear that the inner monster could become an ally, not just a threat. Kale watched everything with a mix of pride and responsibility. She knew that no matter how strong she was, there was still much to learn. But by helping Broly, she also evolved. It was as if, by facing his demons, she was facing hers again, and emerging even stronger. Vegeta watched with distrust. Not because he doubted Kale's strength or Broly's potential, but because he saw something deeper happening there. The Berserker form, unlike the traditional Saiyan transformations, seemed connected to something older, wilder. It wasn't just an evolution of power, it was a spiritual mutation. Vegeta began investigating more about the origin of this form. He spoke with the elders of planet Sadala, studied ancient archives, cross-referenced information with Whis, and even with Hit, who revealed some confidential information about ancient legends from Universe 6. A really cool idea to explore there, kind of far-fetched for sure, but plausible. Just like how there was no legend of the Super Saiyan there might be others. And what he discovered left him uneasy. The Berserker form wasn't just an anomaly. It was a forgotten inheritance. A rare genetic trait that had existed since the first primordial Saiyans, beings as close to nature and rage as they were to rationality and power. Those transformations didn't represent instability, but rather the pure expression of the Saiyan essence, even older than the legendary Super Saiyan. This opened the door to new theories. What if this form could evolve in a unique way, different from the others? What if, instead of seeking levels like Super Saiyan Blue or Ultra Instinct, Broly and Kale were forging a parallel path? A path that didn't demand absolute control over emotion, but full integration with it? Goku was fascinated. To him, this discovery meant just one thing: more possibilities. He then suggested the creation of a joint training center between Universes 6 and 7, where warriors could exchange experiences, explore their unique transformations, and most importantly, push beyond the traditional limits of the Saiyans as known until now. It wasn't just about getting stronger, it was about understanding the origins of their own power and how different paths could lead to new types of evolution. The idea was initially received with skepticism by Vegeta. Though interested in the initiative's potential, he was wary that gathering so many powerful warriors, especially with impulsive temperaments like Kale and Broly, might cause more destruction than progress. But Whis made him reflect with a simple question: what if the greatest dangers became the greatest masters? Reluctant, but curious, Vegeta agreed to participate as one of the tutors and observers of the project. The planet chosen to host this training center could be a neutral, remote, and stable territory, a small verdant sphere in the interdimensional space between universes. Created with the help of the angels, the place was rich in extreme environments: dense forests, scorching deserts, frozen regions, and even a high-gravity zone, perfect for physical and mental training. There, Saiyans from both universes began to gather, forming what many began to call the Academy of Two Worlds. Broly and Kale became the first informal instructors of a new discipline, mastering the Berserker power. Their training sessions were intense, almost brutal, but grounded in emotional connection, inner balance, and the acceptance of instincts without being dominated by them. For the first time, other warriors with similar traits, emotional instability, uncontrolled energy surges, stress sensitivity, found guidance, and, more than that, acceptance. What was once seen as weakness or a flaw was now treated as untapped potential. Goku, of course, couldn't sit still. He jumped from one training field to another, absorbing everything he could. He challenged himself to fight Kale and Broly in their controlled forms, testing limits, trying to understand the raw ki flow that emanated from them. It didn't take long before he began to theorize a new fusion of styles, a hybrid type of combat that combined the absolute control of Ultra Instinct with the overwhelming strength of the Berserker form. It was a concept that didn't yet exist, but maybe it could be the next step. The one who came closest to this was Gohan, who left the normal Super Saiyan mode earlier than anyone else there. Meanwhile, Caulifla, never satisfied being left behind, began an obsessive quest to awaken something similar within herself. With her explosive energy and unbreakable will, she started experimenting with variations of the traditional Super Saiyan transformation, trying to merge it with what she saw in Kale and Broly. Vegeta began guiding her more frequently, intrigued by the young woman's boldness and the possibility that the Saiyan evolutionary line still hid secrets even the gods didn't know. In this new scenario, theories began to emerge about the existence of lost forms, forgotten variations, or even completely new branches of transformation. Some suggested that Berserker Ki was a manifestation of a superior primal, a kind of return to the spiritual roots of the Saiyan race, even older than the Oozuru or the traditional Super Saiyan. Others believed it was a new evolutionary line born from the crossing of genetic strength and emotional trauma, a rare alchemy, awakened only in extreme cases. Broly, even in the middle of all this, remained the same, silent, introspective, but deeply determined. Now, however, he didn't train just out of fear of himself. He trained to protect, to teach, to serve as a guide. Kale, in turn, gained more and more respect among the warriors. She was no longer seen as Caulifla's shadow, but as one of the central figures in the evolution of the Berserker path. Her balance was admired even by the proudest. And in the glance between her and Broly, there was a silent connection, made not of words, but of deep understanding. Two titans from different worlds, shaping a new future together. This new era brought a change in the very identity of the Saiyans. From impulsive and destructive warriors, they were becoming scholars of their own power, learning to master not just the energy, but the feelings that moved it. It was a rebirth, and at the center of it were two of the most misunderstood beings in all the universes, Broly and Kale, proving that brute strength, when allied with compassion and understanding, can turn even monsters into masters.